Good evening, folks. Welcome to the June 27th, 2023 meeting of the Northfield Select Board. We will call this meeting to order at this time. Our first order of business is a 6 p.m. with Amanda Lynch for the town clerk job description and appointment. Please come forward. So, Dan, I'll have you head this off as an introduction, and then if there's any questions from the board, then we will entertain them and maybe have some questions for Amanda.
Sure. Amanda has been actually at my side for about a year now and has been training not only with myself, but also she's taken some classes with the state of Massachusetts. I feel right now, as far as doing that, that she is more than competent to take over my position. She has a few more classes she's taking. She's working towards her certification. Certification takes 3 years plus a certain number of classes, and she's already working towards that. Soon she'll be getting her notary. She's going to be another notary in the town hall. She's presently the president of the Western Massachusetts Town Clerks Association. She's currently, along with myself, town clerk in the town of Leiden, and trying to help them out in certain areas as far as doing that. So she's more than qualified. Last night she did a election. They do it a little bit different than we do. It's all hand count. So they have the little crank that they do. So she's not only done that, but she's also gone through an election here using the tabulator. So she's well versed on that. We're working on, or she will be working on, the use of iPads, which is a different way of checking in people at town meetings and elections. So it's going to bring us up to the 21st century. She's more competent at spreadsheets than I am in creating them. I can put in the data, she can create the things that I put in. So in a short period of time she's here, she's probably saved the town at least $2,000 to $3,000 in things that she's actually brought and worked on here. And when I am not in the office and she is, I know that the townspeople are very, very capable hands. So, and Amanda, you're on.
Any questions from the board?
Jeez, come on. This is the time to grill her.
I don't know. We've all kind of got to know her already. There's not a lot of grilling to do,
Yes.
as far as I'm concerned. And I just want to make sure, you happy with the, grade level and, and that they're offering you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've put a lot of time into enhancing your skills as a town clerk in the past year. Why do you feel that you should be continually investing your skills in Northfield? There's a lot of other towns right now looking for help. Why are you choosing Northfield as your place for career?
Interesting. I've always liked the town of Northfield since I was a little kid, so I'm familiar with the area. I've already spent a year here learning how things work. I really appreciate our smooth operating system, from like elections to organization. Like our vault is really good, so we have a better one than most people around here. So I think I'm already in the best spot in our area. I've seen a much smaller town, the way Leiden does it, with still hand count, and here we're using the voting machine, so it's a bigger town, but it's still a small town compared to everywhere else. So I think it's a good fit. I like everyone I work with. I like everyone from Northfield that has come to the office that I've met so far.
Where's your interest for this type of administrative work? Where does it stem from?
I actually didn't know that I would love this so much until I started doing it. So I've always kind of had office jobs and things, and growing up when I was younger, I was involved with town meetings and different things for the town of Bernardston, just because my parents were, so we were there and helped out. So I've always been interested, in things like that, and I love the history, looking at the old records. That's just something I'm interested in. So all of these things together, it fits, it works.
So tell me about your education advancing. for a town clerk? How's that been going?
Good. So I went to my first conference. It was in the beginning of the month. It was in Plymouth. I think there was 200 and something other town clerks there, so there was a lot of people. Met some new town clerks, talked about how things are done. They had a bunch of classes. I only went for the day because the hotel booked really fast, and childcare, it was my son's last week of school, so I just did one day of class. It was great. We did a class on MGL, and then Sarah came in right after I had learned how to look up things like efficiently instead of just being like, what is the law for this? So it's cool. There's another conference, September, I think, in Springfield, so I'm planning on I'll be able to do all 3 days of that because it's close.
What are you doing tomorrow?
Oh, yeah, tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to Boston to the State House to meet with everyone there and talk about the early voting and vote by mail and other town clerk things with a bunch. There's 99 town clerks going, so it'll be fun.
Cool.
So towns are often trying very hard to stay competitive in this very competitive job field. What are your long-term goals in terms of being a town clerk? Do you anticipate staying in town for this position?
Yeah, I feel like I'll be here for a while. You know, my son's just going into middle school, so I would love to get him in Pioneer. I'm looking to move into Massachusetts or Vernon, whichever, you know, so I don't see myself moving very far out of the area. You know, I'm not opposed to living in New Hampshire or something, but I feel like this is a good fit. It's centrally located to kind of my life, so it works.
Where do you hope that you should educationally be advancing in the next few years?
I think that I will have the certification. I need to clarify if I have 1 year of credit or 2 years for Leiden and Northfield.
Yeah.
So I'm either into year 2 or into year 3. So I'm not sure how long it will take to obtain all of the credits. I think there's like 70 credits you have to get and then take the exam. So that's just a matter of time, but I don't think that I won't be able to do it the first time. You know, as soon as I have the credits, I'll be able to do it.
And one more question for Dan. Can you, on the record in front of the town, confidently stand by Amanda and supporting that she can administratively handle this town?
Without a doubt, she is head and shoulders above where I was when I started this journey as far as doing it. And she is an extremely quick learner and actually a real good go-getter. If something comes up she doesn't understand, she will find the answer to it. And if there's something that needs to be done in the office to make it more streamlined and beneficial, she has come up with some great ideas, and we're working on those ideas as we speak. So.
Okay.
So moving the room around, all the things are changing. Not the furniture, just where everything is kept.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just say, you know, I've gotten to know you a little bit the past year, stopping in the town clerk's office, checking in and seeing how you've been progressing and transitioning into this position, and just the ever-changing complexities of Massachusetts and its laws and this position. Dan, I know you know that very well. And even from a select board perspective, we all know that.
Yeah, it's an understatement as far as what's happening.
Yeah.
As far as that is.
And I'll just say that I think your professionalism, your accountability, and your commitment for this position and moving the town forward in a town's clerk position and administratively is what I think is in this town's best interest. And I would say your dedication definitely makes you worthy of this appointment. So, and that's just me. So that's all I have to say. Anybody else has anything else to say?
Well, I would concur with that, and I would add, and this is also based on your training, Dan, is I think both of you are very comfortable saying when you don't know something and you'll find out. I've seen that. I've seen Dan do it in front of a whole group of people and then confer with Amanda during the caucus, for example, and Amanda was like, I just read that and it's this, that, and the other thing, and Dan was like, great. So I think you set the tone for that, and I remember that being a key question in our interviews was, what do you do when you don't know something or you feel like you might have given the wrong information? And I think you've demonstrated, both of you have demonstrated that, and Amanda, I think you've had great training.
Oh,
and
excellent.
yeah, and we're super grateful to Dan for doing that. and for being a mentor. The other thing to me is it's clear based on the application and the trajectory over the last year that you're actually building a career and a profession, not just a job.
Yeah.
So I think that's of enormous benefit to Northfield, and I'm grateful for your efforts over the last year.
Just one thing, I don't think I've ever seen a day when she hasn't come in and was smiling. So she must like what she's doing, or she wouldn't be
That
smiling.
one time the truck almost crashed into me.
Oh, yeah.
Cried one time.
Okay, we'll let that go.
Nothing to do with the job.
Well,
Nothing to do with here, yeah.
With the commute.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really like it here. This is super interesting for me. I like the flexibility of doing different things at different time of the year. That was my struggle with a regular office job, just sitting there all day, the same thing. So this is a good balance for me.
Great.
Outstanding.
I have one. So because I'm going to miss you before you go on that exciting thing that you just announced you were going on, I've been getting a lot of questions about ADA rules, the American Disability Acts, around town meetings. So I just wanted to encourage you to ask questions about that tomorrow when you
Yeah,
go.
let me know. Yeah, if anybody has anything specifically they want to know, we have a whole like talking points list, so we're not all saying the same thing. But
Excellent.
for sure, I'll inquire.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll talk to you after that.
Yeah.
So, does anyone would like to entertain a motion at this time?
I've got a motion.
By all means.
I move that we appoint Amanda Lynch to the position of Northfield Town Clerk, effective upon completion of the conditions and activities noted in the letter. The position is for 35 hours per week as a benefited position. The rate of pay is $25.74 per hour, grade 7, step 5. The start date will be July 10th, 2023.
Motion's on the floor?
Second.
We have a second from Heath Cummings. Any further discussion on this motion?
Is there an expiration? I mean, is it 3-5 years, or is this just open-ended?
She's an employee, so it's
Open-ended, okay.
it's not the same as a,
That's what I thought,
Yeah.
and I wanted to make
Good
sure that's
question.
clear.
Yeah, good
Thank you.
question.
You are an educator, a researcher, and you will be inspiring people in town for years to come. So it's great to have you on board. We'll take a vote at this time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is that a unanimous passing?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for your call of service and welcome to the town of Northfield as our town clerk.
And thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
No, I appreciate
Thank you, Dan.
all, the years I've done this, and there hasn't been a dull moment, I can tell you that. for sure. And one of the things that you do have, every day is different, every single day. There's never 2 days exactly the same in this business. And I appreciate all of you guys and girls. So
Women.
enjoy.
Yeah,
I will be hopefully enjoying retirement for a while, and we'll see what happens.
excellent.
A successful transition. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you email me what you want to know, I will ask them tomorrow.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
See you.
Congratulations.
Yay! That was fun.
Fabulous. All right, next we'll move on with the agenda here on a Council on Aging appointment for Robin Jenkins, Administrative Program Assistant. Sandy, yes.
On the agenda, it says we're doing something with the job description for the,
yes, you just have to confirm the
right,
final
right,
job
right.
description. Just, it was brought to you last time. The only changes that were made were we were moving the elected pieces.
Oh, yes, Town Clerk job
Oops,
description.
sorry about
Okay,
that.
my
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, and you had it, just because we had to take out the election language
1 second.
and put in the appointed language and put the grade level that went through the process on it. So there's no real change to the tasks, but officially you need to vote it and accept it.
Okay.
We had to remove the fees. I mean, there's things in there when it was an elected position that no longer are applicable
Apply,
for
right.
appointed. So it's just a quick update. Other than that, the duties remain the same.
That looked fine to me.
Oh, I did look at that briefly. That's right.
So it says grade level 7. Does it need the step information there also, or is
No, the
it?
step is by appointee.
Got it.
So once it's on the grade, the step comes along with the person.
With the person.
It's
So-
on your job description here on the draft update, it does say appointed,
Yeah.
so we just have to vote
Right,
on
right.
that.
We just changed a few lines here and there where there were things about being elected. We had to take those out. and update this job description to be for an appointed position. We didn't really change any of the tasks.
Anybody like to make a motion on the amended town clerk job description?
Yes, I'll make a motion to accept the town clerk job description as amended.
Second.
We have a second from B on that. Discussion on that before we close it out?
One quick thing. Does it say anything? I didn't see anything, but maybe I missed it, on who supervises the position.
It's usually the first thing. Supervision, works under the administrative direction of the town administrator.
Yep.
Okay.
And
So-
what the supervisory responsibility is too, is right.
Right, they will-
Supervision
yeah.
required was of the people they are supervising.
Yeah, and supervisory responsibility is who they supervise.
And let's just make this clear that if no longer elected, which means this position is not under the supervision, of, so to say, of the residents of Northfield.
It's not a voted
It's
position
not a
any
voted
longer.
position.
It's now
This
hired.
is now an administrative
Correct.
position in that sense that there is
Yes.
a checks and balances system on how this person, who this person answers to.
Mhm.
Okay. We're still in that motion. No more discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous passing
Okay.
on the job description. Now, if we're ready, we will move to the Council on Aging appointment.
This is the job description that we talked about last time. Nothing. I thought you were looking for it. I was just calling.
So, similarly to our last appointment, I'll have Colleen start it off.
Okay, so in the process of grieving over our departing coworker, Linda Keach, we decided that the job has grown to a bigger position, so we have reclassified. That has gone through the process and it's been approved. Then we cast our net out to see who's out there for candidates, and we had quite a nice pool of people to interview. And they were all very, very good and very nice to meet. Robin stood out, especially to the screening committee who first met with her. And then the second round, she equally dazzled us. So this is for the administrative program assistant position. And Robin comes with a great deal of experience working in municipalities. She used to be the Stacy Bond of Sandwich, Mass.
I saw that.
So she was the director, recreation director. In her list of people that I interviewed to find out, personal, professional references, they were just, I couldn't get them to stop, they were glowing on the phone. The Council on Aging retired director, now down in the Carolinas, worked with Robin when she was in that position of the rec director in Sandwich. And she had nothing but incredible things to say. Hard worker. She developed a men's exercise group for the Council on Aging, so they worked together. She collaborates. She's a good supporter. She can read the room and know what the seniors are saying and doing, and she's very professional. She had a friend who was just excellent, warm, people skills, personable. Don't cry. I'll photocopy this for you. I was like, what? My ears. Anyway, and then the person that she's been working under as a paraprofessional in the education field, 6th grade, came on as a new teacher, and she was a little worried. She said about how it would be to be in a classroom as the newbie with someone with so much experience that Robin had, and she was greeted with just warmth and support and helped navigate being a new teacher, because she probably could be, if you took a aptitude test, you'd probably be a teacher as well on top of this. But so not one person had anything but incredible feedback, and that's the kind of position that we need, and that that person in that position is really something I'm looking for as well, to get as close to Linda as possible. So that's why we wanted Robin.
I'll entertain questions from the board at this time. I would say my first question, Robin, is that I see you have an Associate's of Science from GCC. It says degree. What is that degree in?
It was Recreation and Leisure Services.
Recreation and Leisure Services. And tell me about your time at GCC.
That was a while ago. When I started there, I was right in that major, and we started right away doing programming, setting up programs. I worked with all ages, doing internships and so forth. Let's see, I did Mommies and Me swimming class to senior citizen walking groups and exercise programs. So I did a program there.
How did you hear about this position?
On the internet, job seeking for, I was looking for actually part-time.
How many hours a week is this position?
24.
24. Part-time. I'm all set.
I'll just say in summary, so if we can get the Stacy Bond from Sandwich.
I mean,
That's awesome.
yeah.
I think I'll just note in terms of the your description and the resume that I'm seeing consistent and long lengths of service and employment. You've had experience in small towns, recreation and education with a range of ages, and I think that's perfect for what Colleen and the Council of Aging has been setting up. Like, I immediately thought of Happy Feet when you started talking, is that kind of approach. It's not just one age group, it's really understanding aging on the spectrum, I think, of ages. So I'm in.
Outstanding.
I know that you know what you need in the role, and we talked specifically about the description, and so I'm really glad to hear that you heard what you wanted and you found someone who you think is such a great fit.
Yes, we're very fortunate.
Do we have a grade and step for this?
Yes, you have the grade 6, step 3. You have the letter. Do you have the letter in the folder to be sent? Well, no, I would have the letter there.
Yeah, okay.
I signed them.
Do you want me to do a motion, Alex?
Yes, please.
Okay. I move that we offer Robin Jenkins the position of Council on Aging / Senior Center Administrative Program Assistant, and at the rate of pay of $23.62, grade 6, step 3, start date of July 5th, 2023.
We have a motion.
Second?
Second from Bernie. Discussion on that.
Do you want to look at it?
Looking good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your call to public service for
Yay.
the town of Northfield.
Yay.
Great to have you on board.
Thank you very much. Looking forward. Thank you.
Nice
Right.
to see you, Deb.
Progress
Colleen,
happening in
as
real
usual.
time.
Congratulations, Robin.
Thank you.
Next up for scheduled appointments, we have a Matthew Sheldon for the Sean Naughton Brown Dog Bike Tours Special Event Permit Application for the Cycling Challenge. Hi.
My partner couldn't make it.
Have a seat.
Oh, sorry. Darn it.
So you seek a special event permit for the Cycling Challenge.
Yes, we're doing what's called an Everesting Challenge. Basically, the idea is to ride uphill the equivalent of Everest, so about 30,000 feet. So we picked Alexander Hill Road. We're working with Mount Grace Land Trust, so we'll be sitting up at the top of the hill there on their property. People will be riding from the bottom to the top about 36 times.
Nice.
Oh my God.
Fair enough.
How many individuals do you anticipate for this event?
I think we have the cap at 50. Right now, we only have we'll have about 10 people signed up.
Okay.
So yeah, most would be 50, but probably somewhere in the 20s would be my guess.
Okay.
The most.
Do you have experience in running these types of events?
Yeah, we do have. We've done a few events now. We're in our third year, and we run events usually out of Outlaw Brewing Company, which is in Winchester, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And we usually do like longer distance mixed terrain events, so not just this one road, but going throughout. So we'll have an aid station set up at the top with food and water, and we'll probably keep somebody down at the bottom just to make sure everybody goes down all the way.
Insurance paperwork in order, Daniel?
Yep, it's in here.
Great.
Yeah.
You also have responses from
Police.
highway,
EMS
EMS.
and police. Wow. This looks straightforward.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Why Northfield?
Ah.
I think it's really interesting because recreation is something that is really important to Northfield, and we offer and we want to attract more people for recreational businesses and tourists and residents. So I'm just curious, what was the attraction? Was it that hill, Alexander Hill? or-
Alexander Hill is great. Yeah, I live in Warwick, and so
great,
I ride
okay.
around here all the time, and that's definitely one of my favorite hills. And yeah, at the top there is such a beautiful view. So I mean, it seems like it makes sense. It's like for the challenge, what we're looking for is a hill that was relatively steep, not too long, but long enough, so that because if it's too long and not steep enough, then you're gonna be riding forever, and that's not really the goal. But yeah, it just seemed like a perfect spot, pretty much.
Okay. I have a question. You have on your site plan here platform, stages, grandstand. Is that your aid station?
We'll be setting up right across from the power lines. There would be the aid station, so which is like right at the bottom of.
And that's the platform.
It's the platforms are up at the top of the of that like Mount Grace Land Trust their plot, which is about 3/4 of a mile or something like that into the woods. So we'll be a little bit below that, down in the parking area. But the platforms are just set up there for people to set up there like tents and whatnot, so they can take a nap if they need to. It's
All right.
kind of event that could go into the night, so we expect that we'll be tired at the end.
So I'll just point out that the folks that built that cabin that's associated with Mount Grace at this point are right behind you in the front row.
Oh, wow.
The Richardsons.
How's it going?
Yeah.
It's a pretty awesome spot.
I could see their eyes lighting up when we were talking about Alexander Hill.
All right, so we see that the date of this event is July 29th to the 30th, bike ride 6 a.m. until noon of the following day. Ooh.
Yikes.
4 a.m. set up on the 29th, with a breakdown time at July 30th at 1 o'clock
Yep, that's the plan.
p.m. Okay, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I'll motion that we grant a special event permit for Brown Dog Bike Tours for their Everest Challenge at Alexander Hill on
July 29th.
July 29th
Through the
to
30th.
July 30th
Okay.
from 6 a.m. until noon the following day.
Second.
Motion and a second on the special events application permit. Discussion on that?
Cool.
No? Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Well done.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We're looking forward to hearing how this goes.
Yeah, sweet.
Please, let's have a follow-up in some form or another.
Yeah, we'd be really curious on
Yeah.
how this goes.
I'm gonna try and attempt it myself. See how it goes.
Take a nap.
Good first-hand
Yeah,
experience.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Excellent.
So do I get paid for the permit at some point, right? How do I do that?
That'll be her. I will get it to Matt. No. Sean, I think I have.
Shane?
Shane.
Okay.
I'm more.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
All right,
you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, next up,
Cool.
we have a citizen's concern with a modification that we now limit citizens to 3 minutes per speaker.
Okay.
Any citizens' concerns at this time?
Can be highly modified, seeing 3 minutes is what we have.
Let's
I got
just
some-
have your name for the record.
Joe Gravel,
Thank
Old
you.
Ferry Road, Northfield, Mass. By the way, probably the oldest road in town.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
One of the first 2 roads that actually got set up for allotting the lower Great Meadows lots for the second settlement in Northfield. Anyways, I have a couple of questions. I have a concern actually that the special town meeting warrant is been posted right when an awful lot of our citizens are on vacation, and for me that's uncomfortable because I think we should be shooting for as many people to be a part of our important decision making as possible. Second, I have a question about the plans for selling off the town's assets. And the question is evolved around the kind of details you might want to give a bank loan personnel information if you were going to start a business. Basically, have you guys crunched the numbers, and do they get you further toward your goal in a measurable way? So that's a question that in 3 minutes we just don't have the time for that. Unfortunately, that's one of the shortfalls of this particular new guidelines that or whatever you would choose to call it. The second question is, if we sell off these town assets, can we purchase them back if the properties fall through? And again, only 3 minutes. What will happen to the money if the projects fail?
Joe, could you repeat the last question, please?
I didn't quite hear that last question.
So the question was, if we sell off these town assets that are on the warrant for a special town meeting, can we purchase them back if the project that we're theoretically selling them off for falls through?
It's not sold for the project.
Well, can't discuss, but
Just clarification. It's not being sold for the project.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm just curious if you have the numbers about how much we spent on the last emergency complex study and plans. What did the town shell out for the ink on paper they got? Do you have any sense of that?
So we can't answer questions because these are concerns. You can, however, ask these questions. I see that Andrea's pen is moving, so I anticipate there will eventually be answers to them, but this is not the correct time for it. So if you'd like to have anything else to say, get it on the record and press onwards.
I just want to inject one word into the whole process.
Sure.
And the word is transparency, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you for your concerns.
Chair, may I ask a question of you?
Sure.
So, in a past meeting, you said that when items were on the agenda, it was within the chair's discretion to allow people to discuss items on the agenda that are not on the board. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
It is my discretion to keep things so how we are doing them. Consistency is a good policy to have, so this is going to be the new standard from now on. It's a matter of lawsuits, it's a matter of not getting the town in trouble for open meeting law, something I take pride in not really having to deal with in my 5 years, and I'd like to continue that for the next year. So, great. Any more citizens' concerns? Seeing none, we'll move on. Review and approval of the warrants. I'll hear a motion for the 6/28/23 payroll warrant.
I move that we approve the June 28th, 2023 payroll warrant of, $123,984.46.
There's a motion.
Second.
Second from Cummings. It's for the payroll. All in discussion on that? Yes, that's higher than usual.
Yes, and I'm noting that the ARPA premium pay that we approved at the last meeting is included in this.
So that's where
Yeah.
that number is coming from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for that, Bea. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous passing. We have a vendor warrant, 6/28/2023. Anybody?
Make a motion to approve the vendor warrant of 6/28/23 for an amount of $294,224.47, which includes the fiscal year 21 audit, fiscal year 21 Mass Works road grant and sewer.
Second.
Motion and a second on that. A lot of money. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Lastly?
I move that we approve the vendor warrant for July 1st, 2023 of $266,414.26, which includes the bulk of it, I think I saw, was the county retirement amount and health insurance.
Second.
Second from Bernie. We have this for July 1st. For further discussion, so this is for the sake of balancing the books?
This is the first
FY24.
FY24 warrant. And so those are FY24 assessments that you pay up front to get the discounts.
Discounts.
There's discounts.
I like that. Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Unanimous passing on those vendors. Get some people paid. Review and approval of minutes for June 13th, 2023.
So moved.
Okay, so he made a motion on that. Is there a second on the minutes? Second on the minutes. Discussion on the minutes. Looked good to me. Nicely written.
They're long. It was a long meeting.
It was a long meeting. It was very long.
Everything looked good to me.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
great. I see
There's a lot of detail.
Attorney General's policy on posting and verified the town is in compliance. Good for the public meeting posting. Law and resource officers. Yeah, this looks great. Very good, Sandy.
As usual.
I'll entertain a motion on, we did that. We'll take a vote on it. I'll entertain a vote. All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Unanimous passing? Sounds good. Interim select board meetings. I don't think we had anything. No. Meetings and events attended by select board members. I'll head that off. Took a meeting with Patricia Kinsella, superintendent of the Pioneer Valley Regional School District. I spent a couple hours with her, touring Pioneer, how the operations are going at Pioneer. Talked with some students, including Heath's boy, who's a fantastic boy. Toured the gardens with Mason. They have this great garden program outside at Pioneer.
The environmental program?
The environmental, yeah.
Yeah, good.
Fabulous work that they're doing and bringing awareness to the students. So it was a good meeting. She bought me lunch too. That was nice. I like a good lunch. I attended the Four Star Farm volunteer appreciation event at the Senior Center.
Oh, good.
It was a great event. It was great to see Colleen there with, I'm blanking on the lady who just stepped down.
Yep.
Linda.
Oh, Linda.
And we had music from Ted Thornton and Joe Bedard, the sounds of the 50s, the Everlys, the Righteous, all sorts of good doo-wop stuff. It was a really great event. Four Star did a fantastic job. And then lastly, I had, these weren't in order. These are just, I'm just calling out the meetings. We had the SRO meeting, which will be discussed in the school resource officer update, but I attended that meeting. And members of the curriculum personnel and subcommittee meeting for Pioneer were there, including Patricia Kinsella. Bea was there as well, and John Hall, our chief, police chief. So those were my meetings. It was a busy couple weeks for me. Bea?
Oh, let's see. I met with a citizen She was just sharing some suggestions regarding the special town meeting experience. I sat in, as you mentioned, the curriculum and personnel subcommittee, and then I sat in on the school committee that followed that, hence all the notes. I then met with the police chief regarding the data, the incident reports, more on that later. Had a dentist appointment. And a historical commission meeting. There you go.
Great. Bernie?
I was away, but when I got back, I
Oh.
did watch the EMS meeting in its entirety, the recording of it, just so that I would be up to date on that. I wouldn't be able to make it if I was here, because they are a little early for me.
Yeah.
But I did watch that meeting.
The building committee?
The building, the
Oh,
EMS
gotcha.
building committee.
Okay.
Yep. That's all I had.
Dave?
I was at that committee meeting. That's all that I had.
Sarah?
I was at the EMS building committee meeting. We had a conservation commission meeting. First meeting of the Economic Development Advisory Committee. That was great. We have a really, really diverse, there was some concern about the diversity, but super diverse skill set, really exciting.
Nice.
Met with the grant coordinator regarding that. I had several meet and greets in the past 2 weeks with just making myself available for information about the town. Special town meeting coming up. I went to the MIMS, I went to the library, I went to one of the historical coffees, and I spoke to a lot of people, but I had actual real conversations with about 13 people. And got their impressions on the meeting. And I went to the Northfield Elementary School presentation for their forest land use. And I think that's it.
Fabulous.
Busy.
A proactive select board.
Yeah.
Engaging in the community. Good work, folks.
Exactly.
Town administrators update.
I was away for some time, so I'll keep it brief. So I didn't out for a week, so I didn't have so much. But received the town audit for fiscal 2022. I'm working with the financial management team to review the management letter. We usually draft a town response, so I'll be sending all of that to you electronically. We'll forward all that to you. I'm meeting with them next week, but I have the audit and the various paperwork that goes with that. So we usually then schedule the auditor to come in for you to ask questions. So I'll get this out to you so you can formulate that, and we'll try to set up a time later when he can come in so you can ask him any questions. This is for fiscal 22, so it's the year before, actually. We're always a year behind because 23 hasn't even closed yet. This week, grant applications for the small bridge grant, which is School Street, and the municipal road safety grant, which is the 2 radar sign installations. Those are due in this week. Mallory's submitting, after you sign the one, we're mailing that and submitting that tomorrow. And the bridge grant is due by Friday. So those 2 will be going in this week. Assistant town clerk hiring. We have approximately 20 resumes, so I need at least one. We usually have one select board member on the screening committee and then bring in a second for the hiring committee. So I don't know who wants to volunteer for those. The screening committee will probably be myself, the town secretary, myself, and the new town clerk that you are appointing, and a select board member to do the screening from those resumes, and then we'll narrow that down and then do the screening interviews, and then there'll be finalists, and usually we're joined by another select board member. So there's 2 of them on the hiring committee.
Sign me up for the hiring committee.
So you want to be the add-on. So does anyone want to do both? Because someone does screening and hiring, and someone does hiring. You want to just do the hiring?
What's the, how many meetings is it?
I usually email out all this stuff, and we kind of pick through, and we pick the person to do the screening. There'll be a screening committee interview. It depends on how many they decide to screen. Usually it's at least 3, but we try to line them up so that it's one day, half-hour interviews, and then they'll be hiring, which is at least 2. So we could screen 5, but we will do hiring of at least 2, maybe 3, depending. It's hard to know until the candidates are met.
Okay.
Uh,
I'd be
so
willing
try
to
to
help
do
with
2
that if you-
days. So you want to do the screening and hiring, and he'll do the second, join us for the hiring.
Yes.
Okay,
Just have
perfect.
to calendar it.
Yeah, and we're going to do it. We figured we would send out the materials in the next few days, get everybody all the way through the holiday, and then try to, and just say, hey, who are your top few? And we're going to try to match up a top few, and then we would do the first screening interviews the week after the 4th.
Okay.
If someone can't make it, I can fill in.
All right, we'll let you know if
Yeah,
something
just
happens.
as a backup.
Just email me the time, please.
Yeah, we will let you know what the dates are. Usually we try to find a date when you guys can make it, and then the candidates try to fit in. So we're going to do that. And per the last meeting, I'm working on, next meeting I should be bringing you a draft of the fire chief job description.
Oh,
So you need to
good.
start working on, what you want that to look like, and how you want to go about approaching that. And I did get a phone call today from Senator Comerford's office, and they are working on putting together a letter with Representative Whip's office to send to the committee that is housing the request for the extension, to try and urge them along, because Skip's birthday is in August. So
Oh, good.
he just wants to give me an update.
It's just sitting there in the legislature.
Where
right
they're
now.
trying
Yeah.
to nudge it, giving them some, a little bit fire under them because of the date, the timing.
Good.
So that's me.
Awesome. First order of business, special town meeting warrant.
What I really need you guys to do is to just assign motions to who's going to make what motion. You usually do that prior to the meeting. You should have a copy of the.
I wanted to talk, if I could, about the wording, because it says the select board voted unanimously to recommend this article on all those. It was my understanding, and I recognize that I'm a newbie, that we were voting to have it included for the town to vote on, not that we were personally recommending it.
Well, voted to recommend the article for town meeting. And then Article 2, it was a 4-1 to recommend the article. But, I mean, I don't know that's up to you guys, what your impression is. You've been
When I
voting.
read the select board voted unanimously to recommend this article, it gives the impression that when you say that the finance committee recommended that, people assume that they said, okay, it's good for spending, it's an
Yes.
adequate amount. And what I'm saying is I voted what I felt I was voting for, and I admit this is, I'm new. What I felt I was voting for was to include it for the town to vote. I didn't feel like I was putting my stamp of approval on it.
That would have been the time to say that you didn't support it.
No, what we were voting for was to include it for the town to vote for.
And
That's
you
my
could have made
point.
the choice at that point to say, I don't support it. If you didn't support it at that point, that's your time to
Well,
say.
when I will say I don't support it, or I do support it, when I put my vote in the box. What I'm saying right now is this is me saying I think that as a select board member that the town should vote on it. I'm not saying that I don't agree with this.
Then that would
What
be
I'm
the
saying-
select board voted unanimously.
Yes, but my problem is to recommend this article.
For the town to vote on.
I think the wording is misleading. Because
Well, it doesn't say we support it.
whether it
Yeah,
does or
at the
not, I
town
think I think it appears as if we do.
Well, at the town meeting, you can speak against it too. That's
That's
the
not,
time
that
to
actually
speak.
is not my point.
Yeah.
Is this
yeah.
legal, is this legally determined language?
I don't know. It's been the language in the last 5 years I've been here, and it appears to have been the years prior to me that they voted. I don't know that I've had any other select board member question what that meant.
Or
So I
any
guess it's
town
up to the
attorney or
board.
town moderator questioning that language.
The reason I'm questioning when I'm saying whether it's legal, is this required language or is this the language we choose? That was my question.
There's no required language. We could strike anybody's vote. It's usually put on there to guide the citizens in what the board feels. If you guys want to vote to remove that, that's your prerogative. Or to vote to change it now, you could make that motion. I mean, to change it.
I guess,
what would you like?
Yeah, what
it
would
to
you
be,
like?
sir?
What's the recommendation?
I would say instead of saying to recommend this article, to offer this article for a vote. That's what I would say.
Well, I mean, your signature on the warrant does that. So if you don't want to do the recommended language, then I would strike it altogether, because by signing the warrant, that's, you guys agree. Usually you have a discussion about what to put on the warrant because it's your document. The select board chooses what goes on the warrant. There have been times that articles have been submitted by, not by the public, because there's a process that has to go on the warrant, but by a department or even recommended by the finance committee, and the select board has said, no, we're not putting that on. And that's a discussion you have, and then you sign the warrant. So by signing the warrant, I think what you're doing by signing the warrant is what you thought you were doing.
Yes.
With that vote. So if you guys want to...
But this word, I mean, we didn't vote to recommend this the wording, you didn't say we're voting to recommend this article, right? You said we're going to include it on the warrant.
What's the motion say?
No, I
Did the
think
motion say that?
Yeah, but I mean, you guys can change that now. If you want to change that, you can make a motion to change that now. I mean, this isn't... The motions aren't the warrant. So you can change that up until, town meeting. If you want to make a change to that, you can make a motion now to change the language or something.
Do we need, so if us saying that we're putting it on the warrant, if this sentence, the select board, then this sentence is unnecessary, correct? Because we're going to vote we recommended that it be included by signing it.
Correct. Usually,
which is what you
the
just
language
said.
usually is the time when people vote to say, we're recommending that the town do this. And if you don't recommend that, then yes, I suppose that should have been the time when you voted against it. But you could take all those votes again and we can change it. Or you can motion to take it off. That's really on you.
What was discussed in that meeting was an executive session meeting, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter once you go to do the warrant.
Not the special town meeting part.
No, I think you did that, came back out for that.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, thank you.
But you're not, this isn't
I just
set in
think
stone.
this is, it's not, I'm actually not even saying that I do or I don't agree with it. I'm saying I think this language is misleading. I think it's saying that we're putting our stamp of approval on it when, like, there's some things on here that I'm still thinking about. And so when we have this, and the town reads it and they say the select board voted unanimously to recommend this article,
Yes.
I think that's misleading if that's not what we did. If we, by signing the article, what we did is we included it in the vote.
I don't know. I guess I would say you need to decide which. I've been doing this for 25 years, and this is what every town does. If you don't support it, you can abstain or vote no or vote yes. I mean, that's been the traditional things. If you guys want to change that language, that's something you need to discuss because that's new to me. It's not a legal issue. It's a preference that the board can do. If you don't want to do it that way, then I think that's something to bring up to your fellow select board members.
Yeah.
It's really not on me. It's on you. Honestly, it really is.
But you wrote this, right?
I wrote it based on the vote.
Which was unanimous.
Right, well, at the time, but she's saying she didn't understand, and that's fine. I can understand. It's the first time we've been through this.
I'm not saying I didn't understand. I did understand. I understood that we were voting to include it on the ballot for people, on the warrant for people to vote on. I wasn't personally recommending that.
Okay, yeah, so I'm just saying there's some confusion. Regardless of how it all happened, there's some confusion. When you voted to sign the warrant, that was your vote. Everybody voted to, this is the warrant, we approve it, we're putting it forward to town meeting. So that, I think, was the understanding you seemed to have had for each one of these, and it's just a confusion.
What if we put at the end of recommend this article for town vote? Would that make more sense? Like, we're not personally in favor or against it now, but we're just recommending that this article go forward in front of the town for vote.
I think you don't need the language then at all, because you've done that with signing the warrant. So I'm just saying, either you can reword the language, you can take all the votes again, and she can vote differently, or you can remove the sentence. Those are your three options. I mean, and it's really up to you guys as a committee how you want to handle that.
Well, it's just like when we have things for a typical open session meeting. There are things on here that some of us may not agree with, but we agree when this agenda is crafted and created that this is something that we want to see on it, whether we agree or not. So
I disagree slightly. We're voting to put the warrant in front of people, and then we're voting on the individual topics, if you will, which are the articles for people. I think it's important that people know where select board members stand on each article in bringing it forward. That's why we take the vote. So if it's not what is representing somebody's individual perspective, then they need to say, I'm not comfortable doing that right now, as on Article 2, voted 4-1, whatever that is. I think that's what this says. Now we can talk about the language, but I don't think we should back off of, like, if we have a particular recommendation, that's the whole point of bringing these things forward. So I think it's great that you brought it forward and we're clarifying the language, but each individual vote on the article is saying something about the article and about where select board members stand.
I disagree. It's saying that we agree to include it for a vote.
Well, that's your perspective, but we've already done that by doing the actual warrant itself. Each individual vote on an article is about the article,
whether we include it for the town to vote.
Right. We
I
have
think
to
we've
vote
made our
on
point.
each.
Why don't we vote as a board on what the language should be and move on?
Yeah.
Or take them all as a revote if you'd like to change.
You want to
There's an
revote?
abstain. You can abstain or vote no if you're not sure.
I'm comfortable with it. What's the motion then?
Yes, but I actually had another question, and so I would like, that's fine, we can do whatever the board decides on that. I think that we, as a board, have made a mistake on this, because the purpose of this emergency special town meeting was about the speed, the end of the fiscal year, and it was about a building that we were worried was not going to be available. And that was the reason for that. And that is Article 1, Article 2, and Article 3. We gave people a week and a half, 2 weeks to vote or to learn more about it, and the excuse we gave for the urgency, the short time we were giving people to learn about it, was that there was a fiscal year reason and there was a building that might evaporate, an opportunity that might evaporate.
Well, there was a couple other reasons.
Those two things don't pertain to Articles 4, 5, and 6. And I don't think it's appropriate that we include other things on the emergency that aren't the emergency. The stated purpose of the emergency was that fiscal year, which ends July 1, and that building might go away. So that pertains to Article 1, Article 2, and Article 3. And so I think we've made, I seconded 2 of those motions, but I think that after speaking to town members and after thinking about it myself, which is case in point, we needed more time to think about it and consider it. I think that we just made an error in including those, and I would like to make a motion. I know that you've said we can subtract, but we can't add. I would like to make a motion to remove Article 4, Article 5, and Article 6 from the upcoming special town warrant. Because we haven't given special meeting, because we haven't been given people the adequate amount of time to investigate it, and the emergency reason does not pertain to those 3.
Well, there was a couple other things there. First of all, that has to be done on town meeting floor. This group can't remove it now that the warrant is posted. So that would have to be a motion on town meeting floor.
Okay.
Article 4 was of some urgency because there's actually some available equipment that he's hoping to purchase. If you take that away, then that equipment goes away. So that was a specific reason. There's 2 vehicles that have been, you could certainly talk to the highway superintendent. I would urge you to do so because he's the person who asked for this to be on here. So if you'd like to talk to the highway superintendent, I'm sure he can explain to you what his urgency was. If we remove that article, those particular options go away. I don't know what that means specifically for him, other than I think he felt that he wouldn't have that equipment at that price.
Well, just urge the town to vote down on it when it's your chance to speak. When the motion's on the floor and people have a chance to speak before the vote takes place. That's what we do in town meeting. That's how this country works. Just get up and speak, and if you don't want it, then maybe you'll rally enough votes of support to have it retracted.
I hear you. Yes. Okay.
If I may.
Please.
We've talked about this at a few meetings, so I appreciate the perspective, but we've already discussed it, and I don't ever remember using the word emergency to describe the special town meeting. What we talked about was the vagaries of the fiscal year in general and how timing is really important, and that's why we were choosing the time, and there's never a good time to have a big town meeting. But we felt from a timing perspective, in order to move any sort of project forward and bring it back to the townspeople for the annual town meeting, that we do something now so that we will have some progress and an update, midway through the year without calling another town meeting. Those were the points that I discussed. Was we were attempting to react to what came out of the special town meeting in April and move some options forward that did not involve big price tags and lots of long-term borrowing. And we were concerned about making a decision to meet the timing so that if construction was warranted in any way, shape, or form, and additional financing was warranted, we would come back to the townspeople, because it's cheaper for the town. If we wanted to put something out to bid, we would do that in the winter. That's the best time. And so I remember having a discussion about timing, but I honestly don't ever recall saying that I felt a sense of emergency. I feel a sense of urgency and continuing to put some sort of solution in front of the town. So I think I would consider the urgency of putting something in front of the town based on our takeaways from the special town meeting in April.
I think we also did discuss the timing of this, and if we were going to do something over the summer, I think the feeling was do it right when school gets out and people are still here. The minute you hit the week after school's out, you're done till September. I mean, if you hold anything in July and August, and I know that Joe spoke to this, but people get very upset if you hold town meetings in July and August, and understandably, that is the summer vacation time. Mm-hmm. So there was some sense of, if you want to call it urgency, to do this while people were still in town.
And because of the fiscal year.
Before we get there, because once you get into July and August, we really do try to avoid a time when people are going to be taking their busiest in terms of outdoors, vacations, kids out of school, parents away, and before they come back. So that was also one of the reasons why we wanted to do it kind of close up to the end of the school year.
Okay. All right, let's bring it back here to the special town meeting warrant. We still need to vote on this and making sure that we're ready for it for the time the 28th comes, which happens to be tomorrow. So, so we need to make a decision here.
As far as
what's the decision?
Well, making sure that the articles are good and are being assigned.
The articles have already been posted.
Right. But
So
just we have somebody
that's
for each
water
article.
under the bridge.
But we
Correct.
talked about changing the wording.
is there a motion on the floor regarding it?
Yes. I make a motion to remove the sentence, "The select board voted unanimously to recommend this article."
All right. There's a motion on that.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Discussion before we vote on it? No? All in favor signify as aye.
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 All in not favor signify by nay.
Nay.
Nay. All right, so that's taken care of.
Yeah.
Let's just, all right, who wants to do motion one? Article one.
Just one more point.
Sure.
Do you want to do a motion to change the vote as opposed to the language? Would that make sense? Just trying to be considerate
I appreciate the consideration.
of the group.
Yes. I'd like to have a motion to vote again on inclusion of the articles because of that sentence's wording of the special town meeting warrants, June 28, 2023.
What are you asking for in the motion?
If we can't remove the sentence, then I'd like to revote it. I did not recognize that my vote to include it on the warrant would be counted as a vote to support it. And I haven't decided on those, so.
So, but we already approved the article, right?
It's not part of the article. Just what she's asking is, why don't you revote each one of these in terms of make a motion to say, I move that the select board vote to recommend this article. Then you can vote yes, no, and then I can put another number on there.
Have we already printed out these?
Handouts, but they're one page. We'll make an amendment. And we'll reprint them.
So the motion for that, do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
A motion from Sarah, a second from Bernie. Discussion on this? No? All in favor signify by saying aye.
We are voting on a revote. And then we're going to take a revote for clarification. Right now we're voting on taking a revote. And then we will take a revote.
That's what I heard.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Is that what?
That's how I heard it too.
Yes.
Are we in discussion?
We are.
All right. It's been voted. And I think before people take positions in these town positions and run for board, they have to become fully, to the best of their abilities. Obviously, it's an ongoing process, but they got to understand the processes. And I am definitely not in favor of having to reprint these because somebody didn't understand the process of what was going on with this. We voted, we made a decision. I think the discussion we've had already just on this town article has wasted a lot of time. So I think we've already made the decision's been made, and having to reprint these is a huge waste of time and money for our people who work here in the town hall. They got other things to do, so that's my standpoint on it.
Okay.
And for the record, I didn't misunderstand the process. I feel like the wording is deceptive.
Okay. We'll take a vote.
I'm just going to speak quickly.
Sure.
The idea was to discuss our concerns with this. I don't think personally we need to reprint them. I think, if anybody has any, problems with this, we can speak at the meeting for now. But in the future when we do this, we can make some adjustments. I think that's where we should move from here. I think we've spoke. I think we've, discussed it. The meeting's tomorrow. We don't want to have to reprint this. If I have something to say negative about one of these articles, I'll say it. But I mean, because I truthfully, when I recommended this, I recommended it to go in front of the town for vote. That's the way I was reading it myself. But it's fine,
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay, so I agree not to waste time and money, and I will withdraw my motion. Thank you for your words, Bernie. I appreciate that. And Heath, I appreciate it. And B, for the consideration.
We just discussed.
Yeah.
If I may, we discussed things. I think it's really important. And we've all been there. We've all had to learn all of these somewhat archaic processes. But I think it's really important going forward, as has been done in the past, is to speak your mind and speak it clearly on each topic as we go forward. Because doing it at the last minute just throws a lot of stuff into the mix that, quite frankly, is a waste of people's time. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Who wants to do Article 1? Who wants to read it?
I'll do it.
Okay. We'll just do one motion at the end. We don't need to do separate ones. And
I'll do Article 2.
B?
Yep. I'm gonna put it out there.
I want to do Article 4.
No, I want to do Article 4.
Oh.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. She can do 4. I'll do.
We have to discuss 3. I'll do 3.
Oh.
Article 4.
That's fine, Bernie.
No, go ahead. I'll do 5.
Okay, I'll do 4.
Sarah for 4. Article 5.
I'll do it. I'll do 6 if nobody wants.
I'll do 6.
Okay.
B for 6.
Yep.
Okay, so we have these down. I think
Is that all we needed to do?
Yeah,
Okay.
just have to assign them. Would a motion be appropriate to accept it as amended with the list?
You don't have to amend it, just say that, I don't even know that you have to motion it, you're just assigning them.
No, we
Okay.
just assigned.
That's fine, cool.
Yeah.
So one quick thing before we move on.
Sure.
So for clarification, because we're talking about the warrant, we can do this.
Yeah.
And to address a question that was brought up earlier.
yeah.
Article
Yep.
5 is so that someone can participate in the board who's not registered voter or
Correct.
a registered voter. Article 6, these properties, this is something that I believe I talked to Andrea about quite a while ago, at least it came up in conversation quite a while ago. These are not contingent on funding this project for clarity.
No.
I'm not sure where that misconception came from. I don't think it's ever been mentioned by anybody. It's an assumption that I think was just maybe boiled up on next door like a bunch of other unnecessary conversations are. But this is not related to the building. It is not contingent on its funding.
And just to be clear, not all of these properties necessarily are to be sold, but you have to understand the process, and that's what we need to speak to, is when the properties get taken or assigned, most of them end up with the tax collector. They're either turned over to the tax collector or they're given by land court to the tax collector. In order for the select board to do, for the town to do anything with these properties, put them in conservation, sell them, transfer them to somebody for another reason, whatever, to do anything, you are the arbiters of property. So it has to be taken from the care and custody of the tax collector and assigned to the select board. So these are there's 20 some properties that have been sitting in the town's tax collector purview for some of them 40 years.
Oh, geez.
So these were the ones that had clear title, so we were going to move them from the tax collector to the select board. And then at some point, over time, it probably will be later when you guys are around, we'll certainly bring back others, talk about what's appropriate for each and every one of these properties or in a group. This doesn't mean they're all going to get sold. It doesn't mean some of them you may preserve, you might put in conservation, but in order to do any of that work, it has to get transferred to the select board, who are the custodians of town property. So that's what we're doing here.
Okay, so otherwise, we cannot make a decision about property unless it has
tax collector will make no decision.
Correct, unless it's been formally transferred to the select board.
And then you can discuss what you want to do with these properties, other things can come to light, and then you can go to town meeting if you want to do other certain things. But
Like
they have to do anything with them, they go to the select board.
If it makes sense and they go, we could send them to public auction and then recoup money for the town as well.
That you would recoup certainly the amount of money owed to the town, because many of them have many years of back taxes on them. Many years they have interest on them. They have legal fees on them. Some of them the town has essentially lost or spent thousands of dollars. Some not so much. Some get turned over to the town. It's all over the place. But we have a history on each and every one of these properties. But there has been a sort of backlog of properties, and so we're trying to figure out what the town wants to do, whether the town wants to preserve them or whether the town wants to transfer them and get them back on, or sell them and get them back on the tax roll, make them tax producing.
Okay.
So that's what that article is about.
Good.
Do you have map or do you have information, visual information about these properties on the town website?
Well, the map
I understand.
number.
Have you set it up? Do you have a
It's on the tax map on the assessor site. You can type in any tax map and come up with an ID.
Okay.
I mean, otherwise I can just print them off and scan them, but it's the same map.
Well, we've offered, I mean, one of the things that the town moderator at the last town meeting said is, you guys have had time to investigate this, so there won't be any questions. And I've had a lot of questions about these, and I think that, when we give a long list of maps and information, it might be a good idea to, just as we did in Soulfest, in the Soulfest discussion, might be a good idea to have a easy to use map. We don't, not everybody, I don't think we
Well,
should.
there wouldn't be one map because they're all over town. You'd have a town map. So if I put up,
With little green dots on it or something.
if I do, one map, then like the tax map, then they're going to be piecemeal, and you wouldn't know where they are in town unless you knew the roads around them. I'm perfectly happy to take the tax maps that I've printed out and put them on a table at town meeting, but obviously they're all already on the website. You just
Okay.
type in the map and lot on the assessor's page.
I think that would be awesome for you to do
But
that.
I can do that.
Okay, B.
I think that, okay,
Just a
So do
second.
I.
Just a second. B.
so the article is to transfer control of the properties to the select board. We are not dispensing with the property at the town meeting. We're simply moving control to the select board because that's what the select board does. And then to Sarah's point, as these properties come up for disposition as to what the select board recommends doing, then they would be on the select board agenda and we would talk about each property as needed.
Where we would look at a map or something, right?
And then we would look at the map and
You
then
had
we
them
would.
at your meeting. We had them out.
I'm just saying, this article is simply to move control from the tax collector to the select board, and that the select board has the responsibility at a later point as these properties, as we figure out what to do with them, we discuss them at the meeting, go over the map and the property, and invite additional comments on it. Does that make sense?
To me. It's really
Okay.
not that hard. So
Okay,
it's really not
All right.
that complicated. So
Just
if
for-
we're all set. We can move on.
transparency purposes.
Transparency, accountability,
Yep.
Okay,
transparency,
and communication.
communication.
Okay.
We'll move on to Cameron's Winery request for a one-day temporary liquor license for the
Oh, do we take a
Fiddleheads
vote?
Gallery and Deerfield Valley Art Association.
Do we need?
I don't think you did.
No, we
No.
assigned.
You
We're
just assigned
discussing.
people.
Just
Okay.
decided. I'll send a motion. I deemed it in my discretion not to have Cameron's Winery come forward since we have a reputable relationship with them at this point.
We looked at this before.
And you
This is
you
the-
had them in for one, just a few weeks back.
That's right.
It was a different one for a different, but it's the same thing.
Right.
It's the same place.
Just
it's the
different-
same-
just-
oh.
We've had
It's a
no
new
complaints about them.
opening.
no
No.
issues, no
No
complaints.
issues with
No.
them.
Oh,
That's great.
I motion that we approve Cameron's Winery request for one-day temporary liquor license at Fiddleheads Gallery / Deerfield Valley Art Association Art Show at 105 Main Street, July 20th, 2023, from 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Second.
Second from Heath. Discussion on that? No? All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, Cameron's Winery.
Unanimous, I think?
Again.
Unanimous. Okay, next, B, why don't you head this one off on the letter of appreciation
Oh,
to
where is it?
Willie?
Oh,
You
it's
should
in
have
the-
it, it's in the folder.
It's in the
You'd like,
folder.
to read that, or?
I am following up on Mr. Bob Henry's suggestion to recognize Mr. William Messer for his 100th birthday, and there was a beautiful article in the Greenfield Recorder. PVRS, Patricia Kinsella did a beautiful letter to him and dropped it off just before his birthday at his home. And I think the town of Northfield, the select board should do the same, is send a letter of recognition. He was just written up in the Council on Aging newsletter I saw today too. So it was just, in talking with Bob Henry, it was recognizing someone who's given a lot of service to their community and their nation. He's a World War II vet and a veteran, and I just want to take a moment to honor him and say happy birthday. So that's what that letter is, and Sandra, thank you for putting it on format so it looks great on letterhead. Yeah.
Okay.
So I would move that we approve and send the letter with our congratulations to Mr. William Messer of Northfield.
Second that.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
A big aye from me too.
Yeah. And Bob Henry said the VFW, they're following up with other forms of certification and congratulations too. So he's going to be getting a series of different letters and certificates. And there's a big banner in front of his house saying happy birthday.
Outstanding. Well, that's getting signed around. I guess we'll move on.
Sure.
Yeah. School resource officer update. And there is definitely an update. So this goes to the meeting that I attended with B, Curriculum Personnel and Subcommittee, and with John Hall, our chief, Patricia Consola. I'm going to speak as...
And Raina was there too,
Raina
the
was
chair
there,
of
the chair.
the select board. I mean the school committee. Yeah. It's on the, I can fill in
Yeah.
the gaps as you go.
I feel
There's a lot
the
to say.
Curriculum Personnel and Subcommittee is misinformed on the direction of the SRO position. I think they're
I think the phrase that John and I used was they seem to be at square one.
square one.
Yeah, like in terms of understanding and what it does in the school. And I think they were just starting to read and absorb the MOU.
And I think their timing in absorbing the MOU is a year late, at least a year late. I watched Mr. Schwartz, right? Schwartz?
Schwartz. The Nathan is
Nathan
the chair.
Schwartz, the chair.
From Warwick, yeah.
Very closely, and just felt an overwhelming amount of underconfidence and unsureness in what was going on there. And I felt like all that we have done in moving this position, doing the best we can as a select board to move this MOU forward, secure funding and doing everything is sort of gone to waste, because when it's presented in front of a curriculum personnel subcommittee, which quite honestly is not even listed in the law for this position, is just a waste of time.
I just would be careful about characterizing other folks. I would say I really felt that they were working, again, I would use the phrase square one. I felt they were at square one and they were working through their knowledge to date.
They shouldn't be at square one. That's my point with this.
Yes, I know. I agree with that. I'm just saying let's be careful about what we say about individuals. I'm in total, just so I'm clear, Alex, I'm in total agreement on how long this has taken. That's why I took the time to write up the notes, because it has taken so long, and I think it bears summary of how much work and discussion this has taken, and that we're at the point where the MOU is due to expire. We're talking with a subcommittee who's still figuring out what the SRO does. And Warwick is also, to complicate matters, Warwick is leaving the school committee as of the end of this month. So the members who are chairing these subcommittees will no longer be chairing these subcommittees, and they're going to reorganize in July.
That's effective.
So I don't like it, I don't agree with it, but those are the facts, and that's what I'm stating. And I think we've made clear in some of the bullets, and I think this is what we should do in our letter to the school committee, is that the last time we had an SRO in position was over a year ago. And we went to the subcommittee, all three of us, to answer questions. We weren't necessarily invited. We went because it was a public meeting and it was a topic that we all hold dear, and wanted to answer questions. So we sat there and they conducted their meeting because we're effectively citizens, and then we offered our suggestions. And one of the questions that came up was to get more data, which John Hall subsequently spent, this was Thursday night, and then the chief, spent most of Friday pulling and redacting data. And then at the end of the day, I sat with him and I looked at the data because I wanted to see what the incidents were. And I know my focus over the last year has been on kind of the one-off emergency situations, like the one that happened at Northfield Elementary School. When I look through the incident reports, and I think those should be distributed to the select board, when I look through the incident reports, I see a lot of things going on with adolescents that are the usual things, like being angry about somebody's social media post and then assaulting them in school, family custody issues that are bothering a kid at home. They come and make then the child or the adolescent is dealing with anger and frustration about the situation. That comes out at school. And then if you look through all the narratives, these are the stories that are coming out. People sending inappropriate, I'm looking at Heath because you know, as a former police officer and SRO, people send, adolescents sending inappropriate pictures via text to minors. Just all of the, I think if everyone looks, and I'm hoping the subcommittee is doing this because that was the information that was sent to them, I hope they look through and see there's a lot of kids who reach crisis points, and the only time they interact with a police officer is at that crisis point, not when dealing with them on a regular basis in probably more casual clothing in the school situation and feeling like they can go to that adult.
I think the important thing, one of the important things to say here is you only have the reports, which means a police officer has interacted at that point. There are other incidents happening at the school which an SRO might become cognizant of and be able to work with those students. Don't ever rise to that level, but there are adolescents involved in those,
proactive engagement.
and they
Correct.
don't, and those things affect students, young people who can get hurt and upset, but they never get to the police level. These are only things that get to the police level, and when they get to that
Because
level,
the schools called them.
Correct.
the schools called them. So
These
there are
have
things that,
risen to the level
Yes.
of such extremity that the school has had to call
So
for intervention. From
our
law
police
enforcement.
department is interacting with the school and the students. It's just on in a different way, which I think you're trying to say, is the less appropriate way and the more problematic way for police to be interacting with adolescents. And we're trying to do it in a more appropriate,
It's responsive and not proactive, and that's the point of the position.
a more compassionate way.
Yeah,
They don't know that.
and being a part of a community. That's one of the biggest parts
Exactly.
of that position.
That's
It
the
was-
conversation.
I had kids leaving me notes on my whiteboard and crying the day I was leaving because they didn't want me to leave. Like, that is what you could dream of when you're in a position, in any place. I think I not want you to leave, but that position was so critical that when I left, that school committee sounded to me like they didn't know how they were going to live without it. And the whole community within the school sounded the same exact
I
way.
was there the meeting that you resigned, Keith.
Yeah.
And the school committee was taken
Like
back
the gas
by,
and like, oh my God.
what are we
we're
going to
leaving?
do?
Yeah.
So-
And now they're not sure they need it. I've
Well,
got my
there's
own
still-
things to say, but I'll wait.
Yeah, there's still,
So,
anyway.
they are a year late. The information and the concerns from the subcommittee are one from an older mindset of a topic that has not been given the time and effort it deserves this past year. And that's all I really have to say about it at this time. And I know that the discussion will continue in the months to come,
Well, they're having a meeting tomorrow night.
which I will be at.
Yeah, FYI.
Yes.
I just want to mention that, to me, not having an SRO at Pioneer creates a negative image of Pioneer. I mean, they're trying to promote Pioneer and keep it going and, raise the level of everything at Pioneer, but not having an SRO to me is definitely a negative image of the school.
Well, it's what I'm really concerned about, to Heath's point about community, is the community, it takes a community to support children and adolescents.
Mm-hmm.
And if there are available adult figures, regardless of what profession they're from, at the school that they can talk to, that keep them out of trouble, this is the best cost-effective way to do it.
Mhm.
Now, if they don't want to do it, that's their decision. We might not agree with it or like it, but that's their decision, and I respect that. I just continue to put in a lot of effort to make sure they're getting all of the information and looking at actual incident reports, the narrative of it, and the difficulty that some of these children and adolescents are going through made me pause. And I already know a lot about the SRO situation from the last year, but reading those made me pause about how much support some kids need. And in talking with other educators, somebody raised the point last night with me that what about the kids who are not acting out? They're on the sidelines and they're quiet, but they're worried about their safety, and it would be helpful to, if they see something or heard something on the bus because somebody was angry and they threatened to shoot off firecrackers in the main office, which is one of the narratives, or to use guns, that they feel that they can go to someone, right? And I think they're going to different people in the school, and to have one more person in the school, to me, is the right thing to do. And as Andrea pointed out from my notes, they're already in the school because they're getting called in at crisis points. And they're calling, I'm going to point this out as well too, because I think we need to address this, is they're calling the chief directly in many cases on his cell phone, which is fine. I'm glad that people feel comfortable reaching out to him, but the process really is going through dispatch, not getting what is effectively SRO support without actually publicly acknowledging it or paying for it.
Couldn't agree more.
So we hired an officer, we trained an officer appropriately, we've made an MOU, we've agreed to pay the difference over the $30K, and at a meeting in the past, so our actions, what we can do as a board, I think, are at a pause. But in the past, Heath mentioned that we're not going to have, or maybe it was I'm actually not sure, somebody mentioned that the parents, if there's going to be an SRO, the parents have to step forward. If they want it, I think that was actually John.
Yeah.
If they wanted it, then the parents were going to have to step forward. So, you guys know how I love to get out and talk to people. What about helping to inspire that? Is there a way to speak to the parents, to meet with folks? Because we've done what we can do. So I wanted to throw that out there.
Well, putting pressure is not the best term to use, but how you put it is a more proactive action that can be done.
There you go.
B is always trying to find better political words and phrases for me to use so that I'm not always going, but that's a fabulous idea. We need to get the parents talking. They're the stakeholders. They're ultimately the stakeholders. So are the children. And showing up at the school committee meeting and stating our concerns, something that I would very well much like to have the ability to do. Heath, yeah.
It's like quite a few things that I want to make points on and ask questions. So actually, I want to ask questions first for clarity. Who exactly was that? How many subcommittee members are part of this subcommittee? That doesn't include the superintendent, because she wouldn't be a part of the subcommittee. There's 4 people there.
You can. It's on the web, but it was Nathan is the chair, Karen O'Neill from Leiden, who's a longtime school committee member, is on it, and then there are 2 relatively new members from Bernardston.
Okay.
So I think the discussion took a turn in terms of the data from the newer members from Bernardston, and then that was the exchange with Chief Hall, and then they reiterated that. I went to the school committee meeting shortly, 2 minutes after that, and they mentioned that in their report to the larger school committee as well. So that's what I captured, because Alex and Chief Hall had to leave. So I went to the school committee. And they felt strongly about scheduling a meeting before the end of June, so that's why they have one tomorrow. So,
Do we know what time, by any chance?
yeah, 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock?
Yep.
Okay.
It's on their website. And it's Google Meet, it's right before the special town meeting.
That's what I was
so-
gonna say.
Yeah.
But I will attend. I will do everything I possibly can to attend that meeting as well. So, any idea when the last time they met? Like how many months approximately? Been a month, 2 months, 3 months? Like any idea when the last time
The
they
school?
met? That subcommittee.
They just met on June 15th. June 15th.
That's when we met with them.
Yeah.
Before that.
And I think they had met prior to that, but I don't recall the dates because they were literally going through their minutes, when, all of their outstanding minutes. So I know they've talked about this before.
Is it being recorded by any chance? Like it probably is in the subcommittee meetings. I don't think they're recorded. Like okay.
No,
Are their minutes posted on their website?
not yet because they were just going through their outstanding minutes and approving them at the meeting that Alex and I were at.
Okay.
I will say, because I went back and I looked and I pointed this out, I followed up on, Chief Hall sent a bunch of email and data to a subcommittee member, and I followed up with her to make sure that she got it, because I didn't see an email response back. And I made sure that info went to the school committee chair. And I talked to Chief Hall before the meeting, and he said Patricia had reached out to him based on the data that was sent. So they're going to be talking about that data tomorrow night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they have the MOU present with them?
Yes.
At that meeting, they did.
Yeah.
They did have it. Okay.
Yep.
Were there any sentiments shared in favor of this position from what you two can recall? Because it sounds like all of it's been really either oppositional or questioning why they
No,
need it.
I
Was
think-
anything like?
I'm just going to go back to my square one comment, which was they were just figuring out, like someone had looked through the Department of Justice website, kind of which made me think square one, because like if you're Googling stuff, I think Nathan had reached out to someone in the Gil Montague system, and I've since spoken to somebody in the Gil Montague system who actually lives in town, just to get her experience with the SRO. And then I spoke to Chief Hall about SROs in general, and they do stay in touch in the area.
Oh, yeah.
Because one of the points that we talked about was the fact that some of these issues that come up with families spans schools, because if you've got younger kids who are at an elementary school or high school, and then you have an older kid who goes to the tech school, some of those issues that might be brewing in one town, like a small town like Warwick, you might see evidence of whatever that problem is, and not only in PVRS, but over at Franklin County Tech or Gil Montague. Obviously, I'm not saying anything that you don't know, but I wanted to make sure that people had all of the information on how this network of support works. And the other thing that I failed to mention was that the CSO person, the mental health clinician who's been riding along with the police for the last year, is actually referred to in some of these narratives, the incident reports, because she happened to be riding along with the officer who got called, and then John's arranging to make sure that the officer that we think is the good candidate for the SRO is doing the follow-up with the family and taking Leanne along with him with the family after hours, right? So it's that continuity of connection on a troublesome issue from the school with the mental health clinician, with the police, and then at home, and making sure that they have further support from CSO as well. Exactly what you want. Exactly what we've wanted our community policing to be doing, which is mental health, clinician, community policing, and then understanding we're trying to prevent folks, especially kids, from getting in trouble that get them into the system.
Okay.
I got a few more.
Oh, go ahead.
I've got a way to go, so I wanna hammer this home, because this is near and dear to me, not only for the amount of work that I put in at the position, because when I took that position, they weren't sure they needed it, and my goal was I was only going to be interim while I was there. When I left, I wanted them to feel like they couldn't live without it, and I feel like I did that. What the hell happened between 2018 and now? That's what I want to figure out. And it's like a whole change of hands and people who don't understand a thing about this, yet they're not talking to the people that seem to know about it. Because we have not officially gotten invited. We had to crash the party to get our foot in the door to get some information in front of them. We weren't invited, John wasn't invited, and I haven't gotten a single phone call from any of them.
Oh.
We had to go there on our own accord
Yeah.
to get ourselves in front of them and present them with real information. Why?
And they were taken back when we were there too. They were so. They were taken back by it. They didn't expect that we were just going to come in there and be like, hey, what's going on?
We're here to help.
I'm blown away by that. I don't understand that, because if there's something, I mean, from our perspective of a 5-person board, from everything I've seen, from what Andrea does and everything else in this town, if there's a problem, we find a solution, and within a meeting or two, we're discussing avenues to get there, and within a very short amount of time, we find a way to get to the end goal or have some serious progress made on stuff. This involves the lives, this potential lives and safety and long-term welfare of some of the most precious things in people's lives. My number one priority is in that school. And he is now a rising junior. That kid has not had any education on cyberbullying, the dangers of vaping, a distractology trailer, the field sobriety testing prior to prom to teach kids about substance abuse. They have had none of that stuff. He hasn't even heard of it, and none of the kids that were seniors graduating this year even have a clue what I'm talking about, because they were all 7th graders when I left. These are the things that are missing out in that school. A valuable educational experience, and this adds, like to Bernie's point, if Pioneer is trying to rise up, if they're trying to shine, if they're trying to show themselves that they're a school district that stands head and shoulders above the rest, those were things that have happened in the past in that school that made it good and added to the kids' life experience. Why would they not want those things to be added back on? And again, maybe the subcommittee doesn't know. Maybe no one on the school committee or involved in the school administration has a clue. But that's because they're not asking the right questions from the right people. And that's what I'm most frustrated about. Yes, they can be back at square one, but if you're going to start at square one, give me the full gamut of everything I need to learn right now so I can figure out where to take this. And it doesn't seem like their initiative is there at all. And that's what's frustrating.
So just FYI, Heath, all of these bullet points have been sent, the takeaways, because the thing that just blew me away was the police are already in the schools at critical points, at the end of the process, at the end of the anger, because somebody got assaulted, somebody did something that was bordering on, and then you can see in the narratives, the parents get called in, everybody's having a discussion, and then you can also see where the officer says, okay, the parent is taking this issue over, or it's a school discipline issue, and now it goes back to the school. We're just going to document that in the report. So all of the things that we've been talking about, that you've been talking about, I could see in those narratives. It was eye-opening because it's all happening, and it's also showing who's making the phone calls, right? Who's calling Chief Hall to get somebody over there in an emergency situation. I mean, assaulting somebody is not good, right? So if we can head that off at the pass, just if we can head it off the pass, so much the better.
So one point I want to make is that every time they call, they got the chief's cell phone number, right? Chief's on vacation. Of course, if he takes a serious phone call like that, he's not going to say, well, hey, I'm on a cruise ship. Sorry guys, why don't you call dispatch? I'm sure he's going to deal with it to the best extent that he can and forward it forward. But every single time they go and deal with calling somebody, whether it's John directly or going through dispatch, who knows who they're getting? And those kids may not really even know Chief Hall. But the difference is that when there's someone in their school, not only does it humanize the badge, that it makes them less intimidated by a police officer. One of the greatest tools of that position is that there's a person in the school and they're learning that is not just a person with a badge and it's a big scary guy like the news likes to paint them out to be all the time. This is a person who is here to help me, they care, they're developing relationships. So then when they have that crisis, it maybe reaches less of a crisis point before they reach out to that trusted adult and say, I'm having this problem at home, could you please help me? Because I don't know how many times I was in that role where kids would come to me regarding custody issues. They would turn in their vapes to me because they didn't want to have them anymore. Like, those are things they do when they trust the person that's there as their adult resource. And some of those kids have zero adult resources. Their family lives are very rough at home. And sometimes sometimes only trusted adults these kids have are the teachers in the schools. And yes, the SRO is not a teacher, but it's a quasi-teacher. It's there as an adult resource.
A trusted adult.
Exactly. So it adds to that. And I guess what I want to close with this whole thing is that I don't want to paint the school committee, I don't want to paint the superintendent, and I don't want to paint the subcommittee that they don't want it. Because they did sit here in front of us last year, a year and a half ago,
No,
and
just
say,
during the budget.
it was, yeah. And
In
they
front
said,
of the finance committee and the
we
select
feel
board.
like you guys are trying to paint us
Yeah.
as an organization that does not want an SRO, and that's not true. And then they brought up the issues of that if the budget was tight enough, they may not be able to afford one. And we said, hypothetically, if budget wasn't an issue, and Northfield could float the bill wholeheartedly, would you be in favor of it? And they said yes. So, granted, they've got to go through whatever processes, and I'm not going to sit here and say they don't want it. They're just not showing us that they do at this point, in my opinion. So that's what I want to point at.
Yeah.
That if they did, they would take as much action as they could, like we do as a collective board and running this town, that they would move as fast as they could with all the resources available to them to make that position a reality. And it hasn't happened yet. We have this summer, and I hope that they take whatever steps necessary to make this happen as soon as possible, so we have someone in the school before the school year starts. If I am at the Cape on my vacation and they call me up and say, can you come and talk to us? I will find a way to get back here and have that discussion with them. Like, I will make sacrifices because this is the health and safety of my child. There's nothing more important. And there shouldn't be to them either.
Well, FYI, your name, Igor's name, and Billy Kimball's name
saw that.
were all listed in the email with contact information if they wanted to ask. I also pointed out that you were well versed in health curricula, and Billy, for example, was working with the band and in music, that each officer brings their own personal strengths to the community and the way that they interact. As far as money is concerned, I made some bullet points about that the 30,000, we confirmed that. The finance committee confirmed that when we did a joint meeting. And I also pointed out, because it's not a trade-off, the physical security issues like door locks and blinds and that sort of thing are handled by capital articles.
Right.
It's not, the 30,000 is not taking something away. The town already approved spending money for door locks and window blinds at the elementary school. I also pointed out that the role of the position of the officer is funded by the town of Northfield to the tune of approximately $85,000, and that the district can spend up to $30K and reimburse the town per the MOU, right? But the $30K is already, it was in the FY23 budget and it is in the FY24 budget. I will also point out, because I got this information last night, is if they're on special detail, an officer costs $52 an hour. So after the particular incident at the elementary school, that cost a little over $4,000 for 10 days, right? That's 14% of the 30K right there. So I hear all of the concerns from them, and I'm just like, okay, answered and asked, here it is, here it is, here it is. If you don't want to move forward, then just say so, because what Chief Hall is saying, and he's our department head and we need to support him, he's saying this, another month of not knowing is starting to affect schedules, because we're going to be hiring somebody and they all need to be assigned their schedules. They all need to be assigned their training schedules, and he needs to make adjustments for who's doing what, when, and where. Just like everybody needs to, the school needs to do that with their teachers, etc. So he's hitting a wall. We're all hitting a wall, and that's what I wanted to communicate to them, was that we are at a critical point, because it has been a year and a half since we interviewed the candidate that was so great, and the timing of it, I won't go into all the details, didn't work out. That was February of 2022. And then Billy Kimball has not been the SRO since last May or June. So now it's been a year. So I understand all the big topics, like the Warwick leaving the district, etc. But we have to, like you said, we have to find a way of shoehorning these topics in because they're important and they affect adolescents and children. And also, I would think if you're calling in an emergency situation, it would be nice to have somebody there for the most part.
You don't have to wait for a response. They're already in their house.
Right, and they're not in full uniform either. They can be in their, whatever their casual uniform is with the khakis and the, the polo shirt type thing. It's a different, just a different way of doing it. Anyway, happy to have, and I indicated that Heath, Alex, me, with my experience from the last year, Heath with the SRO experience and as chair before that, you as the current chair and the liaison, we're all here to help and answer questions. But we do have to draw the line, and if a decision is not made, then we go to plan B, whatever that is, however however disappointing that is, we need to move on.
I'd like to thank Heath for his comments on that topic, as well as B for typing up these notes and for staying involved in this with me as we move this forward. Means a lot to me.
Thank you.
You can tell, and I just want to give credit where it's due. So, with that being said, I think it's fair to move on at this point. Once again, thank you, Heath. Yeah. So, next order of business. Review Franklin Regional Council of Government.
I'm gonna make your night. You can
$500
skip the next two.
for Riverside Erosion.
You already did it. And we're putting the end of the year transfers off until the meeting after the Finance Committee, and they've decided to do those on 7/10.
We did the erosion one.
Yes, you're done.
Oh.
But we're gonna move the transfers till after the Finance Committee reviews them.
Good.
Well, look at that.
Thank you.
Government at work.
Clearing the path.
And the next one should be easy.
Signed letter of support for the municipal road safety grant. Where's that letter?
There should be one in there for you to sign.
Do you need a motion?
Go to the back. It might be one of the last things.
Oh, can I see this note?
Which one?
This one right here. This
I
one?
will make a
Is that the one you
motion
wanted?
Yeah.
to sign the letter of support for the municipal road safety grant on behalf of the select board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
That was easy. Thank you.
Topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting. I don't think we had anything on that. I think we're good. No unanticipated topic. We do have some reappointments coming up. So we'll just plow right through these. A lot of reappointments for various positions in our town.
It's that time of year.
It's that time of year. Terms are expiring at the end of this month. So somebody just want to take the helm on that and move down the list.
Can we do all of them all at once or no? I forget.
Sure.
Sure.
I move that we approve the reappointments for the entire list, which includes Veterans, Graves Officer, Community Preservation Committee, Town Hall Master Plan, Open Space Committee, Agricultural Commission, and Cultural Council.
We got a motion on that. You just want to put the term expiring in there? Oh,
Well, they're expiring.
You could say as printed in the
As printed.
in the
As
warrant.
printed in the warrant.
I'm sorry,
As
as
printed
printed on
in
the agenda.
There we go.
Second.
Discussion on that? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good.
These are all long-standing folks, so thank you.
And then a fresh appointment.
Oh,
One of them's new.
Yeah.
one of them's new. I move that we appoint Cynthia Durham to the Cultural Council, term expiring June 30th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Proposed agenda item.
Yeah, we didn't print the list of,
Oh.
that list we normally put at the end. Did that not? But anyway, I think that the only things I definitely wanted to mention was that the fire chief job description and timeline and process, I'm going to put that on your next agenda.
Yes.
I've put out the call to several other small communities who have gotten some feedback, plus
Oh,
what we
good.
had some data in our file, so I was going to put that together for a first draft and review, and whatever process you guys want to take that through. And that we will be having an executive session to discuss the park grant, which involves the potential acquisition of some real estate through the grant.
Oh, okay.
So, which is a open space committee project that's.
Oh,
If we're talking fire chief job description, I'd like to start moving on the creation of that succession
Yes.
planning committee as well.
Yep.
At least
good.
figure out its composition, like what we would like to see as far as if we want a couple firefighters, do we want
Yeah.
like 2 firefighters, police, and an EMS, 2 citizens, and a select board member, like 7-person board
like
that
that.
way. So,
Yeah, we'll put
but let's have
process
that,
and timeline
Yeah.
is what I have written here.
that way we can
Let's
start
just-
taking letters of interest.
Well, let's design something at some point. I know it's not an agenda item. We'll design something at some point and deliberate on it as a board.
Yeah, I'll do just a draft and then you can
Yeah.
chew it up.
Yep. Fabulous.
So to speak.
I'd like to add, and there's no hurry on this anymore, but to talk about developing some vote and meeting announcement policies, because I've had people in a panic and many people didn't know about this vote, and it's been 2 whole weeks, and the same thing happened at the last special town meeting. And so I think that we can, as a group, come up with some ways to make it more public and more out there so that our town knows. Because, I mean, the point is just that people, not what people vote, but that they have a chance to vote. And they can't vote if they don't know that there's a vote.
Okay.
So, are we talking about community outreach? Is that the topic?
The topic is discussing as a board how to make sure that the community knows, both through community outreach and other ways, that there will be a vote with enough time for them to learn about it and know more about it.
Right, so the headline is timely community outreach or something?
About town meeting voting policies announcements. You want a
Announcements.
policy on
Yeah.
announcements.
We'll
So,
take
yeah,
a look
Okay.
I'll
And
put that on
signage
the
and stuff. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Well, it's already on the proposed, we've talked about select board priorities, updating those, and community outreach has been on there, so that's been one of mine.
And
that
I do
want to
have-
make sure that we update our priorities in general, and then make sure a lot of our topics are around those priorities as
And
well.
I do have a document that I've been developing with another community about doing, sort of recreating the, kind of the little retreat you went through, like the new priority thing. And I just wanted to confirm with Heath, I didn't know if you were going to miss any specific select board meetings this summer, so we'll check in on that, because I don't want to do that when Heath's not going to be here.
Right.
Yeah, I'll hang around for a minute after we're done and just
Okay,
share with you what I got.
okay.
And
I
it
have
was
one
a
other one, if
retreat
I
in
may.
the town hall, is what it was. It wasn't in.
Yeah, it's not really a retreat, but it's a priority setting meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have one other one to throw out there, and we can consider, again, no hurry. When I went to the Massachusetts Municipal Association training and information, there were several towns that did something that was a government 101. So they had 2 or 3 meetings for citizens where they came and they learned about various things like open meeting law and stuff like that. It
It's
was
a Citizens Academy, and I have a book in my office, and I just got all the stuff from another town.
excellent.
So I'm willing to work with
See?
you on setting that up.
Excellent. Sounds good. Let's do it.
Yep.
Fabulous.
I would say do it in the fall, so set it up over the summer. Some people are back in the fall. You don't want to do it when people can't participate.
And I would say, perhaps more than, maybe twice a year or quarterly or something like that. It doesn't need to happen only once, is what I'm
It
thinking.
depends on what you decide to do, but we can go over what I
Okay,
have,
doke.
and you'll see it's pretty extensive, the one I have, so we can.
Great.
Sounds good.
Okay, with that said, I'll move on to announcements.
Yeah.
There is an announcement to make. I will head this one off. Summer is here, folks. It's a time where we like to live our summerly seasonal lives. And I would advise, this select board would advise that we have people following the speed limits in town. This was put on here due to an event regarding a poor animal, a cat, on Old Wendell Road,
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
who was unfortunately killed as a result of a driver.
Who didn't stop.
Yeah, who didn't stop and didn't acknowledge, from what I was told, didn't acknowledge that there was something like that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And as a cat owner myself, you know, they don't have much to live for in this world, but they are cute, and they are our little snuggle buddies. Mine are. So let's just remember to when we're on our roads, like Old Wendell, Old Wendell Road, that we're keeping in mind our driver discretion and exercising an appropriate level of caution for the speed limit and for the surrounding environment, and to keep it as reasonable as possible.
Especially with the kids out of school.
Lots
now,
of
too.
kids out, a lot of
Yeah.
children playing
Yeah.
on the streets all over town, on Highland, Maine. Little children in the
I'm
yard.
seeing a lot of walkers.
Lots of walkers.
And basketball playing on Main Street too, so around the school.
Yep.
So bikes.
So,
Yeah, lots of bikes.
Please be mindful of that. It hurts. It hits different when you become a parent, which I like to admit. And once again, just the recognition of service for Mr. Messer as we close out the meeting here.
I have an odd one, but
Sure.
I have a shout out too.
because we saw them every morning, and I think they're somewhat the unsung heroes of the school, the bus drivers. If you don't know, we get them in the town hall parking lot between bus runs, and we actually open the town hall early for half an hour so they can take bathroom breaks between doing the morning run and the afternoon run. And a couple of them have their little kids that they actually have to take their first run on before school starts, and so we see little kids. So I just wanted to do a shout out, because I know people talk about the teachers, as should be well recognized now that school's out.
Yeah.
But those bus drivers are here every morning, day in and day out, and just we see them, and we've gotten to know a few of them, and a few of the people have gotten to know the senior center, and it's very cute. And so just a shout out to the school bus drivers
America at work
for every day coming through.
Cool.
Hey, shout out to the engagement group within the 350th, specifically Joan and Steve Stoya for the banners. I don't know if you've seen the historical banners at different points along Main Street. And David Smith and his son, I think his son's name is Mason, put them up. So they represent different people, and they're sponsored by
Citizens.
they're sponsored by Citizens. They're sponsored by NMH sponsored one. The college sponsored another one. So keep an eye out on Main Street. They're all the pictures we've tried to capture. Joan and Steve did an awesome job with the banners and finding those historical figures. And there's more about the historical figures on the 350th website.
When did those go up?
They just went up.
I was thinking, I just noticed it yesterday.
Yeah. So you're driving along, like, oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. Yeah. And they tried to put them in locations that were relevant to the person. So there was some question as to, why is one like near Holton? It's almost like a treasure hunt. You're kind of finding like where they are. It's because they have some sort of relationship to that place. Yeah. Well done.
And then one more shout out for Linda, the resigning senior center
assistant.
Yes.
For her dedication and work. And as she moves on to the next chapter of her life with travel, we wish her the best health and well-being.
Yeah.
And thank you for
Good
your
point.
time that you dedicated to Northfield and improving our senior center.
Yes.
And standing by the side of Colleen as well.
Yeah.
Director. Okay. Good work tonight, folks.
Good.
We all agree and disagree over various topics. We get through it. As I like to say, it's business, it's not personal. So I just want to say good job to everybody on getting through a meeting that had some things to get out and talk about and move forward and stuff like that. So it's good.
We're all warmed up for tomorrow night.
We're ready. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, folks.